Hello, my name is Liam, and today I'm going to be talking about the Lego Batman movie. Now, there's not much that I want to say about the Lego Batman movie I that I wouldn't consider spoiler free. So I'm just going to give a spoiler warning for the movie. I mean, there's not, there's not much spoilers in this movie, and you know, I'm making this movie. I'm making this video a little later than I had originally planned to. So it has been out for, I think a couple weeks now. So if you haven't seen it by now, you should just go out and see it because it is a it is a really good movie. It's a really funny movie. It's yeah. So this is just a spoiler warning right off the bat. Yeah, as I said, I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was very funny. I am a very big fan of the Batman character, and I did uh, I did play with Legos when I was a kid. I still buy the occasional Legos sometime. Just something I do when I have when I might have some spare money. You know, the thing with Legos that still interests me now that I'm a little bit older is, the intricacy of it, architecture, design, stuff like that. But getting back to the movie a little bit more, I think the main thing that I liked about the movie, being a fan of Batman, there were lots of little references to other Batman stuff. Of course, there were references to the other Batman movies, and there were comic references too. You know, they ref, like they reference The Dark Knight Returns, which is a very good Batman graphic novel. They reference that by having the mutant leader appear as a character, which I thought was a very nice touch. They briefly referenced the Batman animated show, which is kind of my first experience with the character of Batman. I really enjoyed that show a lot, and just lots of references to the whole to the whole history of Batman. The '60s show with Adam West. From the very beginning when he first started showing up in comics. You know, they had that like montage for a little bit of how his costume has changed and looked different. It was interesting seeing how it looked very early on. There's a couple things I was thinking about that I wasn't too crazy about. One of those being the inclusion of all the other villains, like the really bad villains, I guess you would say, the ones who aren't actually considered Batman villains, like Lord Voldemort, Wicked Witch of the West was there, King Kong, Agent Smith from the Matrix, which that in particular, seeing Agent Smith from the Matrix in there, that really surprised me, because I had heard previously that they were going to have Voldemort and King Kong in there, and I guess I didn't expect that they were going to play this big of a part. I mean, I know this is a kind of a spin-off from the Lego movie, so they do crossover franchises a little bit. I thought that was gonna be like a little smaller thing, so I was a little surprised to see that the villains from other franchises had such a big part in the movie. And I guess something that I kind of didn't like about that, I feel like having the other non-Batman villains play such a big part, I think took away from the other you know, traditional Batman villains having a bigger part in the movie. And, you know, being a Batman fan, that kind of disappointed me a little bit, because I like all these villains a lot, even if some of them, like Kite Man and Condiment King, aren't as big. I would have liked some of the bigger villains, like Two-Face and Riddler and Penguin, to have had like maybe a little bit bigger of a part. Because in this movie they were kind of played off as a joke a little bit more, like some other characters were played off as a little bit of a joke. You know, they were played off a little bit joke, like they're not playing off them as not being much of a threat. And they did that by also including some of the you know, C tier and D tier Batman villains like Condiment King. And also, that also kind of connects to Catwoman. I could have thought maybe they could have done a little bit more with the character of Catwoman. I've always been a fan of the dynamic between Batman and Catwoman ever since, you know, seeing it first in the animated series, and then they did it again in Dark Knight Rises. And also, I mentioned some of the characters coming off as more of a joke. I think they kind of portrayed Commissioner Gordon as a little bit more of a joke. You know, they portray him as just anytime something goes wrong, he just calls Batman. Which, that might be kind of true a little bit. I mean, if you look at the comics, but anybody knows that, you know, Commissioner Gordon, he is a very capable character of himself. You know, people like the Joker, that's just a very extreme scenario, you know, something that might require a little bit more help. Another thing that I noticed that didn't bother me at first, but once I started thinking about it, it seemed like a little bit of a missed opportunity, maybe. I know there were plenty of character cameos, you know, all these villains and the other not Batman villains, but I was thinking about it, and there weren't a lot of voice cameos in this movie. I think this could have been a very good opportunity to have some voice cameos. Like, for example, they could have gotten like Kevin Conroy or Mark Hamill to come in, you know, maybe like voice a character in a crowd or something, or play some joke, or, you know, play some joke with Batman and, you know, his various appearances throughout history. Different people have played him, different people have voiced him. I think that could have been interesting. You know, I mean, they did have Billy D. Williams was about like the only voice cameo they had, and I did think that was a very nice touch, having him be Two-Face, because he was supposed to be Two-Face from I think it was Batman Returns. He played Two-Face until I don't know all those old movies. I get them all mixed up. I think Tommy Lee Jones ended up replacing him in Batman and Robin, or maybe it was Batman Forever. I don't know. They're not that good. Only the first Batman was really any good. After that, but anyway, I would be interested to see where they go with a sequel to this, because I would think they would plan on making a sequel to the Lego Batman movie. This was obviously I think it was a very successful movie. I'm pretty sure it was a box office success. So I wouldn't be surprised if they would if they were planning to make another Batman movie. But if they did make another Batman movie, it would be interesting because they had such a big threat in this movie, having all these other villains. You know, it would be interesting how exactly they would raise the stakes from that. But if they did, a couple of things I would hope. I hope that they would get a chance to focus on some of the other, you know, Batman, you know, specifically Batman villains. You know, as I mentioned before, that was kind of a disappointment for me, something I hoped that they would get another chance at in the sequel. And something else in the sequel that I would hope they would do is, I would like it if they introduced Jason Todd, or maybe just another Robin, and, you know, potentially have the Robin in this movie, Dick Grayson, become Nightwing, because he did have that little reference where he put on the Nightwing suit, even though it did look completely different from what the traditional Nightwing suit would look like. So I think that would be interesting, just like expand the Bat family a little bit more by having Jason Todd come in. Not that they're gonna do any like Death in the Family storyline, but still, that would be pretty interesting. Yeah, that's about. I think that's about all I have to say about the Lego Batman movie. And I know it's kind of been a little bit since I made a video, but some things came up, and I've had a little trouble getting on a schedule with releasing videos. I want to start getting back into having like a steady schedule of videos. Hopefully I can start doing that and start getting more videos out soon. Until then, I'll see you later.